Hello, everyone on YouTube. Welcome as we open our book study group. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Happy to have you here for the rest of Chapter 8 book study. And Jenny and I are happy to say thank you for being here. Welcome. We love you and bless you. And hi, Jenny.
Hi, Bill. Hi, everyone. Great to see you all.
Yeah, it's really great. I love this group. And we have, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet, but we might have some news next week on some exciting things happening. Oh, and for some of you, you probably don't know yet, I'm going to give you a early bird announcement of a new book that Rupert's got coming out pretty soon. It's out for print. It's called Being Myself. Being Myself. It's not out yet, but we'll be collaborating with him on announcing it, and there might be a Facebook Live or something when that announcement happens. We'll see what happens, but you'll hear about it first right here or second, depending on what you're plugged into. But thank you so much for being with us for the Pure Presence book study. And we're about halfway through. It feels like we're halfway through Francis's book. And maybe it'd be nice to see if he wants to come back on one more time before we finish. I'll put it out there. If you guys have some questions that you would like to spend an hour with Francis and sort of marinate on that, I'll invite him to join us again. I'm sure he'd be interested in doing that. He really loved being part of the book study the last time. And we're looking in the book, I'm not sure on Kindle, we're looking in the book on page 123 where we left off last week. What?
Kindle, that's page 109, and we go up to Kindle page 119. So that's for Kindle users, 109.
Okay, great. Well, 109 in Kindle. And the title for this question, or the question is, what can one do about the ego? So, Jenny, what can one do about the ego?
Well, Francis starts by explaining what he means by ego, and he explains that it's really just a thought or a feeling that identifies consciousness with a body-mind, and he really uses it as a synonym for ignorance, and I think he prefers the word ignorance, but people use ego a lot, so he will use that as well. But the important point about that definition is that it's not a real entity. It has no reality. It's a temporary identification. And so he says ignorance is the belief that consciousness is somehow dependent on the body-mind for its existence. That's ignorance or ego. It's a thought or a feeling. It's important to understand this and not to think that the ego is an entity. And he goes on to explain that it's a mistake to think that we need to get rid of our ego or get rid of our individuality. We just need to stop mistaking ourselves for a body mind.
Yeah, I like the way he really put what you just said. He just and he really put it in very simple terms. And also what you just said, that it it's really important that we not think of the ego as an entity, as a separate thing. I can't tell you how many people I have heard, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of people say, "Oh, my ego this," or "Oh, my ego that," and they personalize it, they join with it, they put their arm around it. I mean, it's just like, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, in Francis, at the bottom of page 123, it says, an example of ego is the thought or the feeling, I am something. I am a woman. I am a human being. I am happy. I am this age. And so on. It is important to see that, because if we say ego is an illusion, people sometimes misunderstand this and say, I perceive my mind, body, and thoughts, and yet you are telling me that I don't exist. This is not what is meant. What is meant is that it is an illusion to think that what we are is a thought or a feeling or an entity. And that's an important distinction. It's the same thing as when you say, I hate that, or it's similar to that, or I am so sick.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
like Aladdin's lamp and rubbing the lamp, saying, "Give me more of this."
Yes. Well, I mean, people sometimes feel that if ego disappears, then their individuality will disappear. And but he explains in the next question, he explains that's not the case. But that's quite a real fear for a lot of people, and I think that's why they want to hang on to the idea of ego and not let go of it. Because ego, it's the feeling I am a person, I am this separate entity, I am something, is really important.
Yeah.
But in his answer to that next question, he says individuality is each unique manifestation of consciousness in human form. And individuality is a celebration of the self, and ego is an apparent limitation of it.
Yeah, I like the way he put that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And and a lot of people, I'm sure many of you are looking at that, also enjoying the way it's put, because I've seen a lot of resistance and people push back with comments, feeling like it was necessary to lose their individuality as a seeming separate self. And I like the way Francis puts this, because individuality in this expression is allowing it to be exactly as it is, a unique manifestation of consciousness in human form. And this is how we all have different gifts, different creative expressions of that manifestation that can be included without feeling like we're doing something wrong or bad or off.
Yes, because none of it comes from me, comes from a person. All of it comes from the universe, and it's unique in that it's manifest through a particular body mind. Yes. So he says the ego is a misunderstanding. So freeing ourselves from ego can only take place through understanding. And obviously that understanding requires investigation. But he says the investigation shouldn't require effort. It should just happen naturally from interests. And he talks about being invited, which I think is a beautiful expression.
Yeah. And he also, at the top of the page of 124, he says the second common mistake is to think that the ego is something that we have to get rid of, or we have to get rid of, like I just was saying, individuality. There is nothing wrong with the mind or the body. They do not need to be changed. It is the mistaken identity that gets corrected, the misunderstanding that we, consciousness, are dependent on the body-mind, which suggests that if the body dies, the mind dies. And if the mind dies, consciousness dies. That is ignorance.
Yes.
Yeah. That puts it into real succinct terms, because you're no longer trying to fix, change, modify, push away, disidentify with. You're not, because you know what you are, you're able to see it inclusively.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really quite a challenge to our understanding, in a way, because if we feel that I am something that dies, that eventually I will die, then that is a very clear indication that we've not really understood what he's saying here, and that we are identifying with a body-mind. And often we try to kind of skate around that and really bury that the confrontation with that understanding, so that we don't really have to think about it. But it's something that we do need to explore, and we do need to understand.
Yeah, it's we need to be very we need to investigate all of our beliefs, or at least to look at them.
Yes.
And allow whatever is whatever kind of energy is there, just allow it to reveal itself without judgment, and just hold it in the experience and awareness of the experience.
Yes, and he says, I think it's on the top of page 125 maybe, intellectual understanding can go very deep, but then we have to live in accordance with this understanding, and it has to expand into all realms of our life: daily activity, professional life, relationships, the way we feel our body, our understanding of beauty, and so on. So it starts with intellectual understanding, and that's necessary, but it needs to go beyond that. It needs to be an intellectual understanding that isn't buried somewhere, that we're with it, that we stay with it.
Yeah. The belief systems that we have from coming through the ages, growing from young adults to adults, the beliefs have a way of attaching themselves to us, to our psyche.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, from the question on 124 that you read, what is the difference between individuality and ego. This is what you were just talking about. Understanding comes from as a result of investigation into the true nature of self, self-inquiry. Only intelligence and understanding can free us from the false notion that is the source of our misery. Once the wrong perspective has been readjusted, then everything else gradually falls back into place, into its organic position. Wow, maybe one day we'll have like therapists that will be like chiropractors, where we go in for an adjustment, a minor a minor adjustment.
Yes. I think that's rather like Francis's satsangs. You can
There you
feel
go.
every question, and his answer to every question is a minor adjustment.
There it is. Yeah. Well, that's
Yes.
why his thought songs and Rupert's are so well populated, and also Muji has these huge, big thought songs. There's kind of like a huge, big therapy session. And
Yes.
often, when you hear something that cancels out an old idea, something that was embedded you weren't even aware of, is surfaced in consciousness right in this other one that's the same consciousness. I've had situations where I couldn't talk after watching a dialogue. It
Yeah.
was so revealing in something that was happening.
Yes. Yes.
I like what Rana said here. She said, "I am a unique manifestation of awareness in human form."
Well, yes, yes, but she is the whole of awareness, not just in one human form, in
Right.
all human forms, but also in all animal forms and all plant forms and every possible type of form.
Yes. Yes. I am awareness. I am awareness having or in a unique manifestation experience that's that seems like what I am. Anyway, you could put
Yes,
it in many different ways, but it's
yes,
in the right frequency for
yes,
sure.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
yes.
Rick says on page 124, I love the distinction made between individuality and ego. Individuality is without ownership, an expression of awareness, but an individual or ego veils it with ignorance. Yeah. Thank you, Rick. And at the bottom of page 124, after what I just mentioned, Francis says the investigation that precedes this understanding is not made through effort. It is enjoyable. We should only do it if we are interested in it. If the question invites us, in which case we should allow ourselves to be invited. If we are invited at the level of thoughts or bodily feelings by the question, who am I? Then say yes, cooperate, but no effort, no conflict. Conflict and effort only perpetuate the original mistake. It is better just to keep this attitude of freedom, of free thinking. Just say yes.
Yes.
Just cooperate and don't touch it.
Mm.
But welcome it. Say yes and cooperate with no effort.
And the next question is about Patanjali referring to two sorts of I-ness, but Patanjali was the kind of father of yoga. And Francis explains that there's really two thoughts two sorts of I thought. There's the pure I thought that has no qualities or limitations attached to it, but it's still an object. And the identified I thought, so that's something like I am a human being, I am a person, I am a teacher, I'm a doctor, etc. It's got something, I has got something attached to it. And he explains that the pure I thought, or the place of I amness, place in the body, is the gate that takes us to the source. And it's one of those words that we, I think Rick mentions it last time, we spoke about, that lead directly to its referent. The word I leads directly, but the I thought itself is still an object. So it's important to recognize that difference. And then the next question goes on about an I feeling, and the questioner says it's easy to see that the I thought can be that you can see that as untrue, but the I feeling doesn't seem quite the same. And that's really the sense of I in the body, the I as a body mind, as I am localized. I live inside my body. That kind of I feeling. And Francis suggests we examine that by asking the question: am I that which appears, or that to which it appears? What am I? So the I feeling appears, but because it appears, it must be an object. And we can see, if we ask that question, that really we are that to which it appears. And if we ask ourselves that question, it's very easy to recognize. Then I'm the witness, and I'm not the witnessed.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting that the whole everything changes by adding the word to?
Yes.
To the same statement. Am I that which appears, or that to which it appears?
Yes.
But by adding that one word, it turns it into a investigation or a self-inquiry.
Yes.
Wow. I find it, when I was reading this, I paused and I was just considering, I was contemplating I. And I does feel like an object.
Yes, it can do. And that's why he says a bit later on that you need to keep going back. You go back and back and back to that which is aware of the object. So first you land on an object, then you say, and you call that I, and then you say, well, what is it that is aware of this object? What to what does this object appear? And it appears to the real I. And then if you land on another object, then you go back even further.
When I add the am to that, I am, it brings in a different experience for me.
Yes, it's interesting. Rupert tends to use I am. Francis, quite recently, has kind of prefers taking the word am out. But I guess it's a matter of what works for you.
Yeah. For me, it almost lends to an identifier of isness.
Yes, reality. I like the word reality that he uses a lot. So what is the reality of I? And asking that question. And because all of our perceptions and all objects of any kind, whether they're subtle objects, the thoughts that appear in the mind, or whether they're physical objects, they all ultimately come and go, and appear and disappear. Nothing lasts. But reality is really that we feel it as something which lasts, which is continuous.
Yeah. It's almost like I am that which is the seer of experience, and that is that is without form or without name.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the same thing really applies to feelings. But in the case of feelings, then it's really locatedness that's the key. If your sense of I am seems to be located in the body, then that's not the pure I feeling. The
Yes.
pure I feeling is not located anywhere. It doesn't have any boundaries. It's, so that's really the counterpart to the I thought. People often misunderstand something Nisargadatta said, a very famous saying, go deep into the sense of I am. And they understand it because they then rest in what Francis describes as a cute sense of me that is sitting somewhere in the body. It's located somewhere in the body. It's cute, and it's by that he means it's comfortable. So, but Nisargadatta didn't mean that. He meant go beyond the I am. The I am is a gate. Rupert describes it as a doorway. Francis calls it a gate.
Yeah.
And it's the gate to the experience of the source of reality, of what we are.
Yeah, there's I like he uses that statement that is partially mentioned in the New Testament, where Jesus said, it is for this reason that Christ said, or Jesus said, I is the way, I is the truth, I is the life. The bridge that we cross one way going out of the Garden of Eden can be crossed the other way going back. The place of I amness is the beacon that tells us where the golden gate is.
Yes, it's lovely.
I think that's that I like the way he describes that, because I amness feels like that's just true.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone can say that and feel the same true.
Yes.
On page 120, is there anything else on 125?
No, I think maybe go on to 126.
On 126, the second paragraph, Francis says, in order to understand that I am the witness. Oh, let me start at the top. This witness is not the ego. The ego is the I feeling identified, or the I thought identified, what you were saying. It is the feeling, I am located here in this body, or it is the thought, I am this body, I am this person. The pure I feeling is beyond the ego. The reason we call it pure is because it is not identified. It has been separated from attributes. In order to understand that I am the witness and not the witnessed, I feeling or the I thought, I must somehow have the experience of the witness. Otherwise, I couldn't possibly understand that. This understanding comes directly from the experience of the source. This understanding, it is in fact the experience of the source. It is a glimpse of our true nature. It is nowhere and everywhere. It is nowhere because it is not an object, and no, it is nowhere because it is not an object. It is not in space. It is everywhere because all objects appear in it.
Yes.
I love that's just beautiful. That's where omnipresence has its meaning. That's the same meaning as omnipresence.
Yes. Yeah.
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 What God is, what all things are, is this omnipresence. And we take ourselves to be the object of experience, the person.
Yeah.
Could you say something about, this is in the middle of page 126, the next question. Could you say something about using the thought I or I am as a way of returning to one's true nature? I find it very difficult.
So what he's doing here is really taking that questioner through a meditation, and that's what the whole of this answer is. If you wanted to, we could do something similar, covering
Yeah,
the
let's
same
do
thing,
it.
if you like.
Are you guys all
Let's
for it?
try it.
Yes. Here we
Okay.
go.
So just allow thoughts and feelings and sensations and perceptions to be just as they are. There's no need to try to control any of them. There's no need to try to get to silence, to get rid of thoughts or to get rid of feelings. And just ask, well, what is it that is witnessing all of these objects that are arising in our awareness, all of the thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions? What's witnessing all of those? So we just allow our attention to shift very, very gently to that which witnesses. And we see that this witness is completely neutral. It has no characteristics of its own. What it witnesses has characteristics, but the witness itself has no characteristics at all. And in particular, that which witnesses, that to which the thoughts and sensations and perceptions appear, is not the body-mind. That which understands is not the body-mind. The body-mind itself is an appearance in awareness. It's only our self, I, awareness, to which all of those things appear. So any sense of being a person, of being a human being, is again just a thought that arises in consciousness. It's not what we are, it's just a thought. So if we allow the I thought to just purify itself from any identification with thoughts like that, thoughts, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a person, just take one step back to the I that to which those thoughts are arising. Just allow it to take you back to its source. And if there's an inclination to stick to any of the thoughts that arise rather than stay with the I to which they arise, then just notice that and allow the thoughts to do their own thing, just go their own way. Don't allow your attention to be captured by them. If there's any resistance, just don't engage with it. Just see it for what it is and allow that resistance itself to flow through. It's only a bodily sensation or a thought or both. So this is just an experiment. It's not how we would live our lives all the time, because we have all sorts of daily activities that we engage in. But what we find is that if from time to time there's a gap or a space in our day and we're invited to go back to that I, go back through that I feeling or through that I thought to the source, to the reality, of what we are, then if we do that every so often, eventually that feeling, the perfume of what we discover there, then just infiltrates, pervades all the activities. It becomes the background to all our activities of daily life, and we don't lose it, we don't get lost. There's always this background of openness, of welcoming, of spaciousness, effortlessness, and love, which is always there behind everything that we do. So that's a meditation on the I thought, and he says, don't turn it into a practice. It should be different every time.
Thank you. Yeah, he talks about what I call slippage at the top of page 127. He says the one who is afraid, the one who desires, the one who likes and dislikes is a mere body-mind appearance against the background of I amness. Don't lose sight of the background. And I call that slippage, or just there's a gradual moving of attention the to the appearance or the experience, instead of staying rooted and maintained, or instead of established in the background. Don't feel you are unsuccessful in this meditation. You are successful every time you redirect the attention towards its source. And I mean, I really, it sounds like the gentle kind of responsiveness that Francis has when he's speaking to someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that meditation.
And there are times when we need to give our full attention to something, and that's absolutely right. And that was attention to the objects of experience, but that doesn't mean that this background disappears. It's still there behind all that activity and all that attention to objects that's going on.
Yeah. Catherine has a question. Catherine, would you unmute your mic?
Hi.
Hi.
Beautiful meditation, Jim. I've been really contemplating this whole aspect of, are you established or are you not established? And can you ever be permanently established? and then and then Francis just spoke about that, I believe, last week. And when he used the term dance, he said it's a dance. All of a sudden, ego, ignorance, in the I am I, like, how am I going to live in this world? It just all just merged so beautifully. It's a dance. So when, as you were saying, when you can really feel that everything comes from source and that you choose, I love that he says you actually choose every moment. And a part of me didn't want to believe. I chose that. I was like, the world came down on me and these things happened and I was in reaction. and then I would act out of reaction, and so I wasn't choosing. And in fact, Francis got really clear: you choose every moment. But because you reacted so quickly and then life moved on, when you remembered it, you thought you didn't choose. You thought life was doing something to you. And he says, no, just because you couldn't remember. And he used the story of Santa Claus. Just because you couldn't remember when you decided there was a Santa Claus, that you did at some point decide there was a Santa Claus. You weren't born believing in Santa Claus, but by the time you were 5, you believed in Santa Claus. So that tells you created a belief system that wasn't true. And your belief system is that life does stuff to you, and you don't have any control over it. But in fact, you always have a choice, always. It's just a dance, and don't feel bad about it, because you just dance with life. Sometimes you're in ignorance, sometimes you're in the I amness. And every time to live this life, you just truly, you said again, Jenny, you choose it, or Bill said it's something cute about life. There's something that you say, oh, I want to go there. I want to engage in that, whatever it is you want to do in life. But that is ignorance, and you chose it. And that's okay. People just don't like the word ignorance. They use ego, but you just chose it. And enjoy life. Enjoy going in and out and in and out and in and out. But as Bill said, you establish yourself, and Ginny, in the background then of always the I amness that allows this dance to constantly be merging. So am I missing anything there? That is just something very new for me that I'm quite excited by.
Yes, it's not you, a body mind, that chooses. Body minds don't choose anything at all. It's consciousness, it's you consciousness that chooses.
Yeah.
And that's not just you consciousness that lives inside a body mind either, or that relates to one single body mind. It's you consciousness that chooses the whole universe, not just what happens to a body mind. And that's the important thing to understand, and that's really quite mind-blowing. But in fact, you can go a bit further than that. I actually challenged Francis on on anyone choosing, and I said that I felt that there was no chooser at all. There was no, consciousness didn't choose. I didn't feel there was a God that chose. I felt that things just happened and unfolded according to patterns, and he agreed with that. So that's a kind of further tweak, I think, on that understanding. And as regards cute, he uses cute to refer to the sense of me in the body, not to what a body mind wants to do, which is absolutely fine. And he would encourage people to go and do cute, nice, or silly things, or whatever they want to do in the moment. But the cute sense of me, that's something that is something to watch for, because it ultimately leads to suffering. It's the identification with a me that is limited, that lives in the body. And that was quite a long conversation on what he meant by cute in one of the satsangs a while ago.
Yeah, he warned me in joining groups. I thought that was quite cute, actually, because you want to be somewhere, right? You want to communicate with some people, and he goes, "Oh, be very careful of groups." And I love what you said about patterns. So this may not be the time for you to go in on that, but you being a mathematician, I've heard you use that term before. And I've always been fascinated by that. So maybe another time you could go into that.
just the way things happen. Things aren't random. Things unfold according to a pattern. We all know about some of the patterns. We know about the pattern we call gravity. If we drop a cup, it breaks. We drop it onto a stone floor. That's a pattern that arises, and everything unfolds according to patterns. Some of them are very precise patterns. Some of them have what appears to be an element of randomness to them as well. So we can feel that we are that which witnesses all of these patterns unfolding, and that's really what you refer to as the dance. The dance is about movement, so if we're talking about dance, we're really talking about unfolding of patterns.
Mm-hmm. And the only one last thing I would say was when we talk about concepts and thoughts and feelings, like the moment you go from the isness or I amness, the first thought that we have is now ignorance in itself, is it not? I mean, we know we need to think and be and intellectualize and figure things out, but we have to recognize that even in the thinking and in the conceptualizing, that's still moving into the realm of ignorance, because you're still just
no, that's not, no, that's definitely not right. Ignorance is only when you're identified with a thought. It's not having a thought. I mean, you can have a thought which is an unkind thought, an incorrect and untrue thought, and an ugly thought, and it doesn't imply ignorance. None of those implies ignorance. An angry thought still doesn't imply ignorance unless you are identified with
I see.
with the thought of being a separate entity, a separate being, a human being, a person. But no, the thinking is very much part of this path, and it's really an essential part of.
Yeah. Okay, so there was just a part where you were thinking and then conceptualizing.
No, conceptualizing is also an important part of this path. It's all the analogies he uses are conceptualizing. All of it is necessary.
Okay,
It's
so I get caught up.
to living every single moment of our waking day, we are conceptualizing, and it's absolutely essential, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Right, and
it is amazing that this body mind can do that.
So I guess he's just saying that I am is not objects, it's not concepts, it's not. So what I said earlier was
that's the pure I am, but that's an intermediate step. That's only a first step.
Right.
The second
I just
step.
wanted to be clear about that, because
yes,
I am allows everything, concepts, choosing everything to run in the foreground, but the I am is always in the background.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
That's the dance.
That's the dance.
Yes,
that's the dance.
Exactly.
I like what Aaron said in the chat. This is why guilt is not only needless, but arrogant. Body, mind taking credit for whatever unfolds. And this is why I totally agree with everything you said, Jenny, and I don't know about patterns, but I know that there's no chooser. The chooser is the mind that says, I did that. I chose that. I felt that, and I don't know how patterns work, but that feels like the essence of what you're saying.
Yes. Well, patterns are just what we observe about how nature works.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This on page 128, second paragraph. Oh no, the top of the page. It says, Francis says, we don't have to repeat the I thought, the thought I, unless we realize we have lost the feeling of presence. He's sort of giving us an antidote to being drawn into the I thought. We don't have to repeat the I thought unless we realize we have lost the feeling of presence. We use the I thought as a reminder, as a line that takes us back to safety whenever we discover we are lost. In this way, we also avoid monotonous repetition. When we are abiding in presence, it is unnecessary to say I. The I mantra is only used in the presence of dryness, doubt, or lack. And then he goes on to say, this I mantra is also the shortest form of highest reasoning, the shortest thought that takes us back to understanding, to intelligence. Once that has been understood, we realize that just as it supersedes all mantras, it also supersedes all clever means that can be used by the mind. In other words, once that has been understood, there is no need for any further thought. In this case, if there is a thought or a feeling, we simply release this thought or this feeling into the I amness.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
he's referring there to meditation. Obviously, in daily life, we'll carry on thinking.
yes.
So he's referring specifically to what was really a meditation that he was taking this questioner through.
Well, we have a few minutes left. Where would you like to finish off here, Jenny?
Yes, I like his I like his analogy of the Garden of Eden, and he says the fall from the Garden of Eden takes place when we become attracted by and involved with objects, forgetting our true center, the presence. When we stick to objects, either because we want to keep them or because we want to get rid of them, we fall from the garden. And the objects are the devil's temptation. We go back to the garden when we unstick ourselves from objects. And I think these kinds of analogies, they're helpful because they can suddenly come to mind in a flash, can't they? When you have got lost.
Yes.
Lost in thoughts or feelings.
Yes. And also on the very last page in this chapter, I like the analogy of the spider and the web,
Yes.
and how we find ourselves in the web, right? It says we never. Let's see. He talks about. The third paragraph, we can never be sure that there isn't some little piece of web remaining. Let me back up. After we have seen the root of fear, the ego, the fundamental mistake, it doesn't necessarily imply that fear has disappeared altogether. The residual web is still present, and we may occasionally get entangled in it. But the situation now is very different because we see clearly that there is no danger of being killed by the spider. So we disentangle ourselves, and that destroys a portion of the web. The more the web is eliminated, the more freely we move around. We can never be sure that there isn't some little piece of web remaining, but it doesn't matter. We enjoy ourselves dancing around, and celebrating. Any fear is just a pale reflection of what it used to be. It has lost its power. In the beginning, we get entangled a lot because the spider is still apparently present. But after some time, the web has been pretty much destroyed. When the web appears and we get entangled in it, we shouldn't be afraid of the spider. It doesn't matter whether the spider has been neutralized already or whether it is still active, because in both cases, it cannot hurt us. It is only the belief that the spider can hurt us that is dangerous. The ego spider is, in fact, powerless. Whenever we get entangled in the web, we should completely welcome this entanglement. Don't resist it. We get to the spider by having no intention to go anywhere and simply welcoming the entanglement or the predicament in which we find ourselves. By welcoming a piece of the web, we are led to the spider. As we get closer to the spider, fear increases, and then at some point we decide that, come what may, we will keep welcoming out of love for truth. Then we reach the spider and look it in the eyes, and that kills it. So don't worry about the entanglements. However, if you are asking how to be free of unpleasantness, the answer is see your freedom. You are free. It is only the illusion, the thought, the belief that we are not free that binds us. Consciousness is freedom itself. I love that. I thought that was beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
Yeah.
Consciousness is freedom itself. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining with us today. This has been an awesome time together. And thank you, Jenny, for that great meditation and beautiful questions. Catherine, thank you all for being here. And we'll see you next week. I'll be moved. I'm finally moving. I've been working on moving for about 3.5 months. I'm moving this weekend, and I'll see you all next Tuesday from my new studio office. And we'll see you then. Thank you all for being here. Bye, Jenny. Bye, everyone.